Okay, welcome everyone. Hello, Melinda. Hi, Marcia. All right, sit up straight and tall in swastikasana. So for swastikasana, again, you bring your feet way back in so that they're underneath the thighs, very close to whatever height you're sitting on. And then put your thumbs on your big toe base joint and your fingers on the tops of the feet, and turn the sole of the foot more up toward the ceiling so you're more on the top part of the foot. And you can try that again, moving your thumbs to the space between the big toe base joint and the other toe base joints, and turn again so you're almost on the virasana top of the foot. Use your hands and move your calf flesh up toward the ceiling. Sometimes it gets stuck and kind of pulls you downward. Then take your hands and also externally rotate your thighs from the inside out. So you do that by squeezing with both of your hands the flesh to the bone, and then turn. Start off at the top of the thigh, then do it at the middle of the thigh. And if it feels okay to you to do that down by the knee, do that. Sometimes for me, it's feeling okay for the knee today, but sometimes a little bit too much turn in the knee doesn't feel quite right to me. But all of that is just really organizing the skin and the flesh of the body and the bones of your body with the manual adjustment of your hands. A lot like making up a bed. Okay? So you just start the practice with a nice clean, let's say, surface. The other big thing you should notice, particularly when you turn, externally rotate the thighs, is it brings the sitting bones closer together. And that begins to start something that's a bandha, mula bandha, the root lock. And you should feel more of a lift as a result, come all the way up into the chest. Okay. Then press the tops of the feet down into the floor and energetically lift the ankles up, and you'll feel your outer hips firm and your inner groin release. Then lengthen up from the pelvis, through the waist, through each individual rib, all the way up into the armpits. Make yourself tall. Keep that height as you roll your shoulder bones back. Bring your shoulder blades in, away from the neck, and into the center of the body and up a little bit. And feeling that chest well lifted and broad, then let's get a little bit more lift in the chest when we bring the palms up to Namaste. Use your thumb to lift the center of the sternum, and you'll feel your trapezius muscle release down. Use your forearms to lift the rib cage, and you'll feel the collarbones get a little bit broader. And one more time, really push your palms together, lift up through the thumb one more time, so you feel that that trapezius muscle continues to descend, and then close your eyes. And begin that process of involution of consciousness, the practice of turning your awareness from the outer world, from all that's going on in the external circumstance of your life, toward the inner world, that inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Particularly focus on your exhalations as a means to bring that awareness more deeply in. Beyond that, there's also the pause that occurs at the end of the exhalation before it becomes the next inhalation. Focus also on the qualities of that pause. Let the mind become like the pause, so it becomes more serene, more sattvic, more still. And then from that still place within, let's chant 3 Ams together. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And that reverberation is both moves outward, but there's also a reverberation inside your body. See if you can observe that effect of the chanting of the Om. And from that space, inhale once more. Keeping your chest well lifted and broad, bring your chin down to your chest and your hands down to your thighs with your palms up. And raise your head and open your eyes. All right, go ahead and keep your legs in this cross for a little bit of shoulder work and twisting. Okay. All right, so stretch your arms straight out, interlace your fingers, and turn your palms toward me for Urdhva Baddha. Now press the tops of the feet down, lift up through the ankles, extend from the elbows through the wrist bones, and pull the little finger back toward the outer shoulder. Keeping your arms as straight as you can, bring your arms all the way up above your head. Press the feet down and energetically lift the ankles up and extend all the way up through the wrist bones toward the ceiling, but don't let your trapezius muscle lift up. The shoulders can lift up, but as the shoulders are lifting up a little bit from the little pinky side of your arm, release down into the shoulder so that that humerus bone and the shoulder blades get a little bit more engaged. Lift up one more time. Notice which finger you have on top. I've got my left finger on top. Then stretch your arms up into Urdhva. Keep yourself tall. Bring your left hand down behind you on the brick and reach up with your right hand. And then put your right hand on the outer leg and have your left hand either on a brick behind you, or you can hold on to the blanket with your hands. Keep your elbows out wide. And as you inhale, lift up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. And observe how the twist, at least for me, is coming mostly into the rib cage at this point. Inhale, lengthen up, make yourself tall. Exhale, turn and rotate. Inhale, lengthen up one more time. Exhale, turn and rotate. Turn your head a little bit more and see if you can get just a little bit more rotation. Then lift up, make yourself tall. Come all the way back to the center. Remember which finger interlace you had and do the opposite one. So my right finger is now on top. Stretch your arms out again into Urdhva Baddha. Press down into the feet and energetically lift your ankles up. Continue that lift up through the side ribs. Roll your shoulder bones back and reach your arms up into Urdhva Baddha. Then go back to the base and connect. Press the tops of the feet down into the floor and energetically lift the ankles up. Extend up through the wrist bones, but pull down a little bit through the little finger so that that outer shoulder tucks in a little bit. Lift up and make yourself taller again so you really feel stretched through the side ribs and armpits. You also may feel the abdomen draw in toward the spine. Then come up into Urdhva. Bring your right hand down to the brick or onto this, to hold onto the blankets, and then reach up with your left hand. So you're pushing down to create length and you're lifting up to create length at the same time. Then maintain that length that you've created as you bring your hand to the outside of the leg. Try and keep your elbows out wide. It makes it easier to begin to turn the rib cage more. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. Inhale, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. One more time, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. Turn the head a little bit more fully, and then see if you can coax just a little bit more twist out of it. All right, then come all the way back to the center. Then stretch your legs out into Dandasana, staff pose. Today we're doing a fair bit of seated work and groin work with some twisting and some shoulder work, but because we're working the bent leg poses quite a bit, you want to balance. Anytime you're working a lot with the bent leg pliability, strong work with straightening your legs in between. So that means it means we'll either do Dandasana generally or downward facing dog. Okay. But you want to either way, the aim is to really lift the quadriceps and the inner thighs and make the legs straight. Okay. The straightening of the leg really works on building the strength of the knee and firmness in the outer hips. Okay? And then when we bend the leg, that actually gives you more pliability in the knee. All right, so second side, you're gonna bring the whatever leg you didn't bring in first in now. You use your thumb and turn the foot as much as you can toward the ceiling. You can try again, moving the thumb to the big toe base joint. And then bring the opposite leg in. Turn again. Make your calf adjustments, make your thigh adjustments as you feel necessary. Sometimes it, is a little bit of, seems a little bit fussy or something to do it, but it really does, just for moving your flesh and bones around, you're going to get a better pose. So it's Not just that you'll get a better pose, you'll actually, it's more that you will feel the energy of the pose flowing more through your body when everything in the external container of your body, which is the skin and the bones and the flesh, is organized. Right? And when that's well organized and lined up, then the prana, which is really what we're eventually working with on that level in asana, can move more freely and fully through the container of your body. Okay. All right, so hook your left, right, whatever thumb you want to hook, one thumb over the other thumb, and then stretch through your ring fingers. Keep pulling your thumbs against each other as you reach your hands all the way up above your head. Then go back to the base and press your feet down and energetically lift your ankles up. Extend up through the ring fingers, but at the same time, a little bit pull down from the little finger into the outer shoulder. Overall, the arms are lifting up, but the trapezius muscle releases down, and there's a little bit of a downward movement up from the little finger into the outer shoulder. All right, good. And then release your hands and do one more set of turning. We're actually going to do quite a bit of turning. Okay. And you can kind of control where you want to work with the twist. Okay. Like for instance, let's say you had some lower back pain, like I was having last week. I might really focus in that case a lot more on moving the twist through my lower back and my abdominal region. And if your rib cage is particularly stiff, that's always a good one. And then you also have the region around your neck and your shoulders. Okay? So you can actually choose as you're twisting a little bit where you want to emphasize the twist. You know, you could start at the base, and on the next exhalation, move to the rib cage. On the next exhalation, move more up toward the shoulders. Or you could just keep it in the rib cage and the shoulders, or in the lower back if that's feeling good to you. Yeah. But just do 3 nice good twists with the breath. And then as you come back to the center, make yourself even taller. And then hook your thumb the opposite way, whichever one you didn't have in top before. Pull your thumbs against each other, stretch through the ring fingers, reach your arms all the way up into bound thumb pose. Press the feet down and lift the ankles up so you feel that firmness in the outer hips. Try and keep your groin releasing as you extend up through the ring fingers so you feel that length come into the side ribs. Pull a little bit energetically down with your little fingers as you're extending up with the other fingers. And then release your arm and bring them down to the other side. And try and keep your elbows out wide. As you inhale, lift up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Again, you're really in control of where you want to work with the twist. Okay. You know, right on this side, you know, last week I was really wanting to release my lower back in some of this work. This week I'm feeling more tightness in my rib cage, so I'm focusing more on my rib cage. Lengthen up from or you can just again work up or down the body with sequentially with the breath. So generally better to start at the base. Okay, and then come all the way back to the center and come into Dandasana, staff pose. Join your big toes together and spread your other toes wide apart, or you can keep your feet a little bit apart or work with the brick between your feet. All that's up to you. Okay. The main thing is to get the legs going. Okay. And then lengthen up through the side ribs again and roll the shoulder bones back. This time, spread your palms like you're doing downward facing dog, because we're going to do that in just a second. Spread your palms, put your palms down on the outside of your hips. And then from your elbows, extend through the thumb and the first finger, just like downward facing dog. From the little finger, actually draw up into that outer shoulder, and you'll feel your shoulder blades draw in a little bit more. And that in turn gives you more lift in the chest. All right, then, any questions about any of that? Okay, feel free to ask if you have one. All right, then come onto your hands and your knees. Spread your palms well, just like you did in Dandasana. From the elbow, extend through the thumb and the first finger. From the little finger, draw up into that outer shoulder. Look forward so your trapezius your thoracic spine draws in. And then turn your toes under and push back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And just observe what effect the twisting work, the groin release, the shoulder work has on this first dog of the day. If it is your first dog of the day. It's mine. Okay.
All right, push your hands down and forward and bring the weight of the pose back into your legs. Maintain that good work of the arms. Come up onto the balls of the feet. Lift from that ankle up through the knee, through the shin bones. Continue that upward lift through the inner thighs and the quadriceps. And then roll over the balls of the feet, push back through the thighs, and reach your heels downward toward the floor. All right, then bend your knees, come down onto the floor. And I'm just turning, can you see my legs? Hopefully, okay. They're completely together. And I'm gonna take a little blanket and put the blanket all the way back behind my knees. So it's a little bit easier to sit in Vajrasana, okay? And Vajrasana means the lightning bolt pose. The blanket's just there to provide a little bit of comfort and space behind the knee. You don't have to use it, but I also find the blanket helps spread out the weight of my top legs on the calves, which helps the calves get a little bit more malleable. Now, ideally in this pose, your outer heels and your inner heels and your inner foot should be completely together. Okay. So sometimes that's hard to do without belting, which you could do, but instead, go ahead and come off the ball, off of your shins now. Extend back through your shin bones, making them longer. Okay. Then when you don't have weight on your legs, you can actually bring the legs closer together. Now, when you sit back down, to keep the legs closer together, move your outer ankles in, your outer calves in, and suck your outer hips in, and keep doing that action on the outer legs when you sit back down. And then my heels still come a little bit apart, but they're closer together than they were. Sorry. I don't have my phone here. Oh, shit. Sorry, I said shit. I didn't mean to do that. It's just my dad calling, and he doesn't usually call this early in the morning, so I'm hoping nothing is wrong. So anyway, but back to, you can wait a little while. All right, so sit up straight and tall. Lift your chest well. Broaden your collarbones and roll your shoulder bones back. Okay. Sit in Vajrasana. Then just go ahead and bring your arms up into Urdhva Hastasana. Turn your triceps from the outside in. Okay. Then bring your arms down into Namaskarasana. Okay. Use that thumb to lift the sternum up, and then go from Namaskarasana up to Urdhva Namaskarasana. Really pushing those palms together so you really feel that rib cage drawing in, hopefully the abdomen drawing in as well. All right, then maintain that height and see if you can come back down into Namaskarasana using that lift of the chest. And then one more time up into Urdhva Namaskarasana, extending back through your shin bones, stretching up through your ring fingers, making yourself tall. Keep that height as you come all the way back into Namaskarasana. All right, then stretch your, come out and do a quick leg stretch into downward facing dog. Notice the difference between this dog and the next dog. This dog and the last dog. You'd have to see into the future to notice the difference between this dog and the next dog. But through the practice of yoga, we actually get the ability to cultivate that siddhi. Okay, next pose is Virasana. Okay, so in Virasana, your feet, it's very similar in a lot of ways to Vajrasana, but your feet move out. Okay, so that if you were to sit down all the way into this pose, onto the floor, you have to have your feet such that you have room for your buttocks to sit back down. Okay, that's what makes it Vajrasana. Okay. A lot of times, first thing in the morning, I can't get down onto the floor, so I'm going to start off sitting up on a brick. Okay. But when you sit on the brick, do be sure that you aren't tucking your feet back close to the brick. Sometimes we do that, but you want to work to get your feet out to the regular Virasana position.
And you can kind of feel on at least on my shins, there is a very large bowing or gapping between the shin and the floor. And eventually that won't be there. So you might want to pull your feet a little bit more back, pull your knees a little bit more forward. And we're really trying to lengthen the shin bone, okay, and diminish that little roundness. And on my right side, it's bigger than my left side. Just let it be there, but that's just one of the ways that the ankles and the feet can be tight, okay? And then you can't really fully ground through the shin bones quite as well as you might want to. Okay, so here we are in Virasana. Do one more Parvatasana. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones and reach your arms all the way up. Press down into the feet and lift up through those through the wrists again. Okay. All right, then here's a new little activity for us. Okay, keep your arms in Urdhva Baddha and see if you can turn with your hands in this upright position. And it's significantly harder, right, to turn when you don't have your hands down below you. But lift up and reach up, and then turn a little bit more. Reach up again, turn a little bit more, and then lift up to back to the center. Bring your hands down. Switch the grip of your fingers and turn your palms out. Lift your arms up. Turn your triceps. Lift up through the bones. And then turn and rotate. Now on this side, with my upper arms, I have a really difficult time turning. Okay. So I'm just going to try and create more length. Take a little bit more barrenness into my back rib cage and turn and rotate. Lift up again. Exhale, turn and rotate. Lift up again. Exhale, turn and rotate. Come back to the center. And then bring your arms down. And then stretch your legs out into downward facing dog again. Now, having done that twist in Urdhva Baddha I can really feel that even though it was hard, it really talked to my rib cage. And so my thoracic spine is going in a lot more. Okay. Then come down and sit in Dandasana. Okay, the next pose that we're going to work on is called Bharadvajasana 1. It's a basic seated twist. And it basically combines one leg in Swastikasana, the very first pose we did. And the other leg is in Virasana, which is the third pose that we did. And I'm going to, again, turn around so you can see that a little bit better. But my bottom leg's going to be the right leg, so I put it in Swastikasana, and then my left foot is in Virasana, right on the arch of my right foot. Then I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to put a little bit of support underneath the outer right hip so that my hips are more or less level. You can also sit yourself up on a brick. Okay? So that's what you're going to do. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Have your support ready. Your right leg is going to go into Swastikasana, the first pose that we did. Your left leg is going to go into Virasana with the top of the Virasana foot on the arch of the bottom foot. And then take the support that you need with either a brick or a blanket behind you. I'm mirroring you right now. Okay. All right. Then sit up straight and tall. Suck your outer ankles in, suck your outer calves in, and you're still got a leg here, the bottom leg, that you could externally rotate a little bit more. And my Virasana leg I can actually see is dropping too much down toward the center, so I'm actually gonna a little bit externally rotate that Virasana leg too, so it's more on the center of the shin bone. All right. Then reach your arms out into Urdhva Baddha and reach them up here into Bharadvajasana 1, Urdhva Baddha in Vira 1. Reach up. You could just turn here, okay? But instead, notice which finger you have on top, and then just bring your hands down so it's a more classical position for turning. But do keep your elbows out wide. Okay? Inhale, lengthen up and make yourself tall. Exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Lengthen up, exhale, turn and rotate. Notice where the twist in this position really hits the back body differently. Lengthen up and exhale, turn and rotate. Then come back to the center, stretch your legs out and do the other side. Stretch your legs out well into Dandasana. Bring the left leg into Swastikasana, the first pose that we did. Bring your right leg into Virasana, the third pose that we did. I mean, not counting the downward facing dogs and stuff, the seated poses and the Dandasanas. Okay. Make whatever adjustments you want to with your legs. Want to or need to. Okay. So you have a nice solid base to sit on. I just got a foot cramp, so I'm kind of pulling my top toes back a little bit. So hopefully the cramp and the arch will go out of the way. Okay. All right, then you got your opposite interlace, right? So stretch your fingers out, do the opposite interlace and turn your palms toward me. Suck your outer ankles in and reach your arms all the way up. Vicky's dog has just walked across her sticky mat. Are they both in there? It looks like it. Okay, reach up from the elbow through the armpits. Make yourself tall. And then bring your arms down to the outside of the thigh and also to the brick behind you. Work with your breath for 3 cycles of breath, directing the twist primarily where you want it to be. Okay. This one's a really nice one to focus on the lower back. It's a really good lower back twist, but I'm also feeling a lot more pliability come into the rib cage. All right, and stretch your legs out again into Dandasana. Bring your right leg into Swastikasana again. Okay. You can sit on a little bit of height if you want. Then if you're able to do half Padmasana this early on a Saturday morning, bring your left leg up into half Padmasana. Okay. If not, okay, you could either do foot on foot or you could do Swastikasana again. Okay. The Padmasana is working pretty well for me today. Okay. But also in Padmasana, take the time to make Ardha Padmasana, make these adjustments. And even if you can do full Padmasana, actually for this sequence, don't, because we're getting ready to do Bharadvajasana too. Okay. So the half is really more like the Bharadvajasana too. All right. Then, as you're sitting here in Ardha Padmasana, reach back and get your right upper arm with your left hand. And your left elbow or upper arm with your right hand. Lengthen up through your armpits and roll the shoulders back. Use your fingers to try and turn the upper arms open a little bit more. And this is the beginning of a pose called Padahasta in Padmasana. So eventually we would be sitting in Padmasana and grabbing our feet with our hands from behind the back. So you're just planting a tiny little seed in that direction. Then release, stretch your legs out into Dandasana again. Okay. Then bring your opposite leg into Swastikasana first. Okay. And then bring the other leg up into Padmasana, or Ardha Padmasana. Okay. So you've got a Swastikasana leg and a Padmasana leg. Observe how the Padmasana gives you a little bit of a different release in the groin than some of the other seated poses. Okay. Now you're going to reach back and get your opposite hand or opposite arm, and then your opposite forearm and your elbow if you can. Okay. Lengthen up into the armpits, roll the shoulder bones back, do all of your shoulder blade actions you can marshal, and then use your fingers to roll open the back of the upper arms. Good. And then release and stretch your legs out. Okay, so last seated pose of this little opening segment of the sequence is Bharadvajasana 2. Yeah. So like Bharadvajasana 1, it has one leg in Virasana. So go ahead and bring your right leg into Virasana. My left leg's in Virasana. And then bring your other foot up, if you can, into Padmasana on the top of your right thigh. I'm a little bit tipped over, the pose is a little bit tippy, so as long as you can remain somewhat vertical, you don't need some height, but if you do need height, you can lift up put a little bit of blanket underneath your buttock and sit back down. Yeah. If your knee is also off of the ground, particularly if you're on height, you can put a little bit of blanket underneath your knee also. Okay. All right, so here is Bharavajasana 2. Okay. You got the Virasana leg and you got the Padmasana leg. Interlace your fingers again, reach your arms up. Okay. Now notice in this Badanguliasana, when you can really press that, the what do you call it, Padmasana leg down into the thigh, how different the feeling of upward liftment is. Notice which finger you've got on top. I've got my left finger, and bring your hands down and around and twist in Bharavajasana 2. Also notice the different effect that Bharavajasana 2 has on the back body compared to Bharavajasana 1 or any of the other seated twists. Lengthen up and make yourself tall. Exhale, turn and rotate. One more time, working with the breath, turning a little bit more each time. All right, then come back to the center. Take your Padmasana leg down. Take your Virasana leg out and stretch your legs out. Padmasana means lotus. Vira means hero's pose. Yeah. All right, so stretch your legs out well into Dandasana, which means staff pose. Yeah. Take your left leg now into Virasana. And your right leg, you're gonna bring into Padmasana. You see, on this side, it's much harder for me. Oh, I'm actually doing better than I usually do. But I can't stay upright really as well on this side. Okay? So the other side, I really didn't need the blanket. I was just kind of showing you how to work with it. Okay? This side, I really would benefit from the blanket. So I'm just taking the double folded blanket, putting it underneath my left sitting bone, and then I'm going to bring my left foot back into Padmasana. Okay. And on this side, I'm also going to support underneath the knee. Okay, so I just raise the floor up so that I've got a nice even base to sit on. Then interlace, do all of any leg action you can remember to do, like sucking your outer ankles in, your outer calves in, external rotation, any of those things. That's how you get your base stabilized. Right? Then stretch your arms out, opposite interlace with your fingers, turn your palms toward me. Then reach your arms all the way up into Urdhva Badanguliasana in this Bharavajasana 2. Outer ankles in, outer calves in, and really lift up through those armpits. All the way up into the wrist bones, and feel how that rootedness of the Padmasana foot on the Virasana foot actually gives you a lot more ability to both to release the groin and to get length in the side ribs and the back body. Yeah. Maintain that height, and then last seated twist for right now. Turn and rotate into Bharavajasana 2 on the other side. Lengthen up and lift up. Exhale, turn and rotate. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, turn and rotate. One more time, lengthen up. Exhale, turn and rotate. And then come all the way back to the center. Bring that leg down into Baddha Konasana. Then bring the leg out into Dandasana. And then the other leg out into Dandasana. And then swing your legs to the side. And stand up in Tadasana, mountain pose. And as you're standing here in the mountain pose, just observe the effect or any effect that you can feel from your seated twisting arm and shoulder work. I have my fancy camera on today, so hopefully you can see a little bit more of me in the room. Okay. And as you're standing here in Tadasana, observe the effect. Observe the opening in the front groin. Observe the compaction of the hips. Observe the lift in the chest, and observe how the shoulder blades have come more onto the back. Okay. All of those are very positive things. All right, now, remember how we did Namaskarasana, right? Then we did Urdhva Namaskarasana. Okay. Here's another approach to Urdhva Namaskarasana, is that you're gonna bend your elbows. Hold on, I'm gonna get a little bit closer so you can see, hopefully. You're gonna come into Urdhva, you're gonna come in and bring your hands behind your back with your palms together. Turn your triceps from the outside in. And then go back up into Urdhva Namaskarasana and see if that got a little bit better. Now from Urdhva Namaskarasana, swing your arms back around and see if you can come into Paschimma Namaskarasana. Which I have to say, after all of that opening above the arm work, for my first out of the box Paschimma Namaskarasana of the day, it feels pretty good. I think partly it's because all that twisting in the arm work has taken my thoracic spine in, so my fingers have a little bit more ability to lift up. But release your hands, stretch your arms straight, and then we're going to try that little shoulder flow again. Okay, so Paschimma Namaskarasana, Urdhva Namaskarasana. Really push your palms together. Turn your triceps from the outside in. Keep doing that as you bend your arms back behind you. See if with bent arms you can get your arms a little bit more back behind your ears. Then Namaskarasana. And then one more time, turn your palms down, reach your leg up. You can see my right shoulder's tighter. So what I actually do is I use my left hand to place my significantly tighter, more injured shoulder in there first. And then with my left hand, I can wiggle that up a little bit more. It's good to do the other arm too, but that's how I do it. Okay. Then lift up into your armpits, roll your shoulders back, really try and get that heel of your palm together. Good. And then release your arms, stretch your arms up into Urdhva Hastasana, feel that nice length. Okay. All right, and then come back down. Now we're going to do Gomukhasana.
Hey, Anne, I had a question about Ardha Namaskarasana.
Yeah.
So what happens to your head? Because it feels like my head is like stuck. Is it forward or is it, huh?
Your head is stuck.
Like in the sense, is it forward? Is it ahead? Or is it in line with your trapezius? Where is the head?
The head should be in Tadasana still.
Okay, because it's getting stuck, right? If you do like that.
Oh, like that one. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, good question. Okay. So if you were to look, and I really actually encourage all of you to just begin to cultivate the habit of having your light on yoga with you in the classroom. I don't have mine, I don't know where mine went. But if you were if you looked at the second pose in the book, which is Vrikshasana, his arms are in Namaskarasana, but his upper arm is back behind his ear. His head's still going straight ahead, so you really have to lift up and reach that arm back so that the arm kind of clears the head. So when I bend my arms, I can actually get the thoracic spine in more and move the arms back more. So that way when I re-straighten the arms into Urdhva Namaskarasana, it's a little bit more looking like Mr. Iyengar. Or at least that would be nice.
Yeah, I think that's my problem is like the arms and then your head is like, where is it supposed to be?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay. Hi, Sugi. Who else haven't I said hello to? All right, good. Okay, any other questions? Good, Cliff, not bad. Cliff just stuck in a tree pose. Okay. All right. Well, let's do some Gomukhasana work. So you also if you can't make the class, you can use a strap. So I've got a strap just on I've got it on my right shoulder because I'm going to bring my left upper arm up first. Okay. All right, so we're going to actually work with motion a couple times with the bottom arm. So you're going to move your arm out. I think we did this last week. Move the arm to the side, turn the thumb down, and swing the left arm up. Okay. I was mentioning that my left arm is more able to get up the back than my right arm. So with this side, I can literally with my own hand wiggle up a little bit higher, and then I'm gonna hold on to the strap. All right, then reach your arm. Very good, Pratima, question too, because even here, what you're really trying to do is not just lift the arm up and bend it, but you're trying to lift the arm up and move it back. Okay? So lift the arm up and move it back. Okay? Lift the arm up and move it back, and then you may be able to clasp a little bit better. I'm close to clasping, okay? But I'm gonna just hold on to the strap just because it's a little bit easier on my shoulders that way. Okay. So this is called Gomukhasana arms. Okay. Gomukhasana means the cow face pose. All right, keep your left hand where it is. Release your right arm and see if you can swing your right arm back and come into another Namaskarasana from Gomukhasana. Then release your hands and stand into Tadasana and stretch your arms out. You know, I've never thought about this until right now, but you know how I always say we balance the bent leg work with the straight leg work? So too with the arms. Okay, so we'd worked a lot with bending at the elbow joint and these other poses and the wrists. So come back to a Tadasana and really work on getting the arms straight by extending through the ring finger and from the little finger drawing up into your outer shoulder. So we balance that bent arm work with the straight arm work. Okay. All right, second side. Stretch your arm out and turn the thumb down and swing your arm out behind you. Okay, so this side here, well, better than usual. I'm actually getting a tiny bit of movement on its own. Usually it's just stuck there on the thick part of my thoracic spine. But I think because we did so much shoulder work early on, my thoracic spine is in more, so there's a little bit more ability for that hand to move, but I'm still gonna help it out with my other hand and lift that arm up a little bit higher. I forgot to say to switch the strap. So now I'm holding onto the strap. And same thing, reach your arm up, back, up, back, up, back. Keep turning the tricep from the outside in as you reach and try and make the clasp. So here you are in Gomukhasana arms. You can reach and extend the fingers toward each other. Pretend someone was holding on to your wrist bones and bringing your fingers closer together. All right, and then swing your other top arm up, doing one more Namaskarasana after Gomukhasana. Feel the increased mobility that's coming up into the chest. Should feel really good. All right, and then release your hands. Stretch your fingers down toward the floor. And then reach your arms up into Urdhva Hastasana. Okay, we're gonna do, if you do have the ability to set yourself up where your heel is at the wall, go ahead and do that now. And then get 2 bricks. And you're going to put them in front of you. And we're going to do the concave phase of Parsvottanasana. Parsvottanasana means, what does it mean? Stretching the side of your body in Uttanasana is what it means. Okay, let's see what, hold on, I need to change my view to see how the setup is. Okay, there is my mat. Okay, so Parsvottanasana. I know you can only see my legs right now, but it's okay. That's really what you need to see. Okay, I'm gonna put my left foot back at the wall and it's turned out a little bit, and my right foot goes straight ahead. Turn my pelvic bones, press the back heel into the wall, and come down into the concave stage of Parsvottanasana. It should feel pretty good. So the back leg is basically doing a downward facing dog sort of situation. Right?
So push that top thigh back, press into your back heel. You should have another nice concavity in your back from this concave stage. Okay. Go ahead and take your strap. You can keep your legs where they are if your strap is in reach. Sorry, I didn't cue that really well. And then come all the way back up. Keep your leg here, but you're gonna put your, if your left leg is back, okay, you're gonna put your right arm in Gomukhasana and then your left arm in Gomukhasana. Okay. So whatever leg is behind, okay, that should be the top arm in Gomukhasana, okay? Then keeping your legs in Parsvottanasana, you're just gonna come halfway forward. And if this feels like it's too much on anyone's back, just repeat the concave back position. Okay, but you're gonna try and come forward, extending the heel into the wall, but reaching your left elbow forward so you get lots of length in the sides of the torso. Then you're gonna come up, put the hand behind your back in Namaskarasana, and again, just fold halfway down. If this is too much on anyone's back, you can just put your hands down. Right, and then come all the way up, and then we're gonna do the other side, okay? So I'm gonna move this back, that's what I'm doing. All right, so put your right leg back on the wall, have your left foot in front of you. Then you're gonna do, first just come down to the concave stage with your hands on bricks. Okay? Lift your quadriceps well, level your hips. That looks good. Everyone. Feel how easy the concave shape comes after all that we've been doing. Now keep your legs where they are. Come all the way back up. Now your right leg is back and your left leg is forward. So that means that you're gonna bring your left arm in and your right arm is on top. Okay. What you're basically doing is when you come into the Gomukhasana, you're getting maximal length by pressing the right heel back and the right elbow forward. So you feel that stretch through the whole right side of your body. You just have to come down halfway. And again, if it's too much on anyone's back, you just put your hands down. All right, and then come all the way back up. And same thing, come into Namaskarasana, Paschima Namaskarasana. Even look up toward the ceiling. And then you're gonna fold forward halfway. Level your hips, keep your leg action strong. Use your fingers to really get the thoracic spine in. And then you're gonna come all the way up. Step your feet together again and be in Tadasana. All right, the next one you probably won't need Rick's, so this Prasarada Padottanasana. And so standing wide apart foot toes. In the concave stage, we're gonna do these 3 hand positions. You're gonna have your hands here, here, and here, continuing on with the shoulder work. Okay. All right. So you go ahead and come into Prasarada Padottanasana. And bring your hands, bring your hands so they go right underneath your shoulders. Okay. When you're out first. I'm just texting my dad to make sure everything's okay, as he just called again. So excuse me for just a tiny second. Okay, all right, so here you are in the concave stage of Prasarada Padottanasana. Okay. Feel how readily the concave spine comes in, or the thoracic spine comes in. Then notice what happens in your upper arms when you turn your fingers away from each other. You get more external rotation in the arms. And then turn your palm all the way back behind you. So your fingers go in opposite direction of your toes, and really feel how that rotates the shoulder bone in. Then turn your palms straight, back again. Second stage, bring your hands back where they're in line with your feet and extend forward so you really stretch that wrist. If it's too much on anyone's wrist, you back off. If this position also creates any back pain, you can come back to the concave stage. It extends the spine more readily. Okay. Then stay in the concave stage if you're on your period or anything. And then if you're not, okay, then you can go and fold forward and place your hand on the floor, head on the floor. Your hands are obviously on the floor. And enjoy just this feeling of being in Prasarada Padottanasana. Anne's favorite pandemic pose. I really just like it because I can really feel the width across the pelvic region. It's a really nice beginning movement toward inversions. And then my favorite hand position in the Prasarada Padottanasana right now is actually to move the hands out wide and hold on to the ankles with your hands. Yeah. I'm just coming in to check out what's going on. Okay. Good. Good. Pratima, I think you could use a little less height. Vicky, can you get your head in any closer to your feet? Bob, that looks good. That's really good shoulder action. Good, Marcia. Sugi, a little bit. Your hips are moving back. Okay. Melinda, a little bit. Your hips are moving forward, probably because you're trying to get your head down to the brick. So just make sure you're grounded into your heels. A little bit more action in the legs, Pratima. Okay. Suzette, that looks good. Just lift your shoulders a little bit more. And Karen Higgins, that looks good too. Okay, now you're just going to retrace your steps. Bring your hands back to Shirshasana 2. Then straighten your arms and look forward. And then bring your hands back out to the concave stage. Then place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Okay, so that's called Prasarada Padottanasana 1. And you can see even that's got quite a few stages, right? There's also a second dimension of Prasarada Padottanasana is Prasarada Padottanasana 2. And it's got 2 stages also. Okay? This is the hand-free version. Okay? So whatever head support you needed, if your head didn't go to the floor, you should keep that. But you're going to keep your hands on your hips, roll the shoulders back and do your shoulder blade actions and look up toward the ceiling. Right, then keeping your legs strong, keeping the sides of the torso long, you're going to fold forward. Stop at the concave stage. If you need lower back support, you just stay there and release your hands. And then you release your head all the way down to the floor. And it's kind of surprising when you don't have your hands, the floor is kind of further away. Yeah. And so you may need to wiggle your feet out a little bit more. But this also feels really good. And press into your heels, into your balls of your feet and come all the way up. And then bring yourself back together. Bring yourself back together. Come into Tadasana and stand up straight and tall. All right, that's stage 1 of Prasarada Padottanasana 2. Again, Prasarada Padottanasana means extended wide apart foot toes. The next one, you actually try and bring your hands back into Namaskarasana. Okay. Then bring your feet out wide. If you look at this one in the book, he has this nice upright concave stage where it's almost like he's doing a standing back arch. But that also helps take the thoracic spine in. Then you fold forward, stop halfway. If you need the back support, if it's too much on your back, then you can release your hands. But try and come all the way down with your hands in Namaskarasana. It feels very good on my brain, actually, today, the hands-free version. And then come all the way up. Walk your feet in together. Release your hands. And stretch your arms up straight into Urdhva Hastasana. And then release and come down. All right, it's now time for headstand, Shirshasana, or whatever you do when a headstand in class rolls around, okay? That can be another downward facing dog, that can be Prasarada Padottanasana, that can be a headstand prep, that can be, oh, one that's really good, if you don't do headstand also, is putting your brick on the crown of your head and having your feet closer together. And then you get a lot of the support or the feeling of Shirshasana on your head while you're in Uttanasana. So that if you want something new to do, rather than repeating, you could do that, okay? But just do whatever you do when this part of class happens. Marcia, I would switch the bricks so that the flat one is on the bottom. It's a little bit more stable that way. There you go. Pratima, that looks pretty good. Good, Bob. Okay, a little bit he's listing to the left. So if you want to move his hips and legs over to the right a little bit. That looks fine, Marcia. Extend more through your inner feet, Cliff. Melinda, that looks good, but your elbows today, Melinda, are a little bit too close together, okay? Everything else, like the armpits look great and the leg action looks great. Yes, that's much better. That actually gives you ultimately a more stable base, all right? That looks good, Gay. Just extend a little bit more through your inner heels. That's pretty good, Sugi. Lift up a little bit more through your inner heels, Sugi, particularly the left one. Okay. Karen, the leg action looks excellent. Okay. That's good. Again, if I'm not calling on you or mentioning the correction, it's just because either you have elected to keep your video off, which is fine, or just the way your camera is, I can't see you. Okay, so I'm trying to, everyone I see, I'm trying to give some feedback for here in the inversion part of class. Okay. Marcia, move your ribs in a little bit more. Okay, there you go, good. Keep pressing your forearms. Vicki, that looks good. Maybe just tiny bit more inner heel lift. Okay, keep pressing your forearms down, keep lifting your shoulders up. If you know the pose called Parsvashirshasana, you can do that now because we've done lots of twisting today. You're gonna twist to the right. Okay, you can do it against the wall, you just need about 1 inch of space. So you might not be able to twist, okay? But squeeze your legs together and keep your shoulders lifted and then just turn. If you need to come down, come down. Bob, your legs are going too far to the left, okay? Vicki, you are going too far to the opposite way of your twisting, but not very much. Okay, there you go, good. That's good, Gay. A little bit your legs are going behind you. Okay. All right, then come back to the center. Cliff, move her feet a little bit toward, there you go, she did it. Okay, good, all right. And then come back to the center and then try again. Start at your base, press your your forearms down, lift your shoulders up, continue that lift all the way up into the feet. Melinda, reach more through your right foot, a little bit more through your right foot. Okay, good. That's better on this side, Gay. It's not shifting as much. Okay. Karen, that looks pretty good. Nice, Sugi. That's a good alternate. Sugi's doing a lovely, lovely Baddha Konasana and Shirshasana. All right, and then come back to the center. That looks pretty good, Pratima. Nice arm lift. It's really proving. All right, and then keep your shoulders well lifted as you come all the way down and rest in Adho Mukha Virasana, downward facing hero's pose, otherwise known as downward facing child's pose. Okay, good job. And come down. Then everyone get a bolster and well, no, actually we're gonna do Sarvangasana first. Okay, if you do shoulder stand, okay, actually even if you don't, go ahead and set up the shoulder stand blanket setup. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like in just a second. For those of you in suspense about the situation with my dad, he just texted to say, I texted to say I was in class, is everything okay? And he texted back just now saying that his problem is now solved. So that is good. Okay, so to do the Sarvangasana blanket setup, okay, I've got a blanket that's made like this. and I'm putting it down on the floor. That's going to be my bottom blanket, and it's on my sticky mat. So I actually take part of that and fold it back the other way so that when my head is going to be here. Okay? So I want there to be blanket on the back of my head. Okay? Then I'm going to take a bunch of blankets, like probably 4, okay? And I'm going to stack them up. There are many, many ways that you can set up a shoulder stand base for yourself. The sort of, let's say, standard one is that you just make a straight, nice, even line for your neck. I'm actually thinking I might need another one today. Okay. All right. Then, after you've got that set up, you can take your bricks and put them on the opposite side of the sticky mat, and then you're going to flip the sticky mat over. Okay, so it looks like that from the front. Yeah. I think most of you know that. But even if you aren't going to go up in Sarvangasana, go ahead and make this setup for yourself. Just so you learn, because even if you're not going up today, you might go up someday. And today we're actually going to do our Chatushpadasana work, okay, and our Satyabandha work on this setup. And thinking about that now, I realize if you have a third brick, you can keep your 2 bricks for your buttocks. If you don't have a third brick, you will need to put a bolster down for your buttocks instead. Okay, I'm gonna move this so you can see me at my side better now. Okay, so there's my setup. And you'll also need a strap. Okay, normally we do Chatushpadasana flat on the floor on our back. Okay. But what we're gonna do today, I'm gonna move my bricks back a little bit so I can put my feet on them a little bit better. Now I'm gonna have my head back, okay? Like I was gonna do Sarvangasana, and I'm gonna come up into Chatushpadasana on my Sarvangasana setup. And doing it that way opens the front of my throat a little bit more, and I can really feel the collarbones getting broad, but otherwise everything else is the same for our Chatushpadasana work. You can either use a strap, you can hold on to the sides of the sticky mat, whatever lets you get more opening in the chest. Okay. Then come down. We're gonna do that one more time, but then we're gonna make the hand position be bent, and you extend through your ring fingers up toward the ceiling. Okay. So press your feet down and lift your buttocks up high. Tuck your shoulders underneath you. You can hold onto the sticky mat and tuck. You can hold onto your strap and tuck. But then bend your elbows, push your upper arms down into the blanket setup, and feel how that work of the bent arm, which is much more like Sarvangasana, really makes your chest lift and open a lot more. Okay. And then you can lower yourself down and come up. All right, the next thing, and normally we do brick Satyabandha on the floor. Today we're doing brick Satyabandha up on the height. Okay. So you're gonna feel a lot more opening in the front groin. If that feels too much for anyone, you can at this point just switch to doing a bolster Satyabandha, okay, which would be a lot more restful. Because with the elevation, there's significantly more, I think, well, there's more opportunity to tuck the shoulders underneath you because it's lighter, okay? But there's also a corresponding significant more opening in the front groin. That will make your shoulder stand better if you're going to go up in the shoulder stand next, because one of the biggest problems with shoulder stand, right, is that we are in that V shape. And that's because our groins are closed and our thoracic spine is tight. Okay? So this is getting the thoracic spine more open, opening the front groins more, which should result in a better shoulder stand when you actually get to it. Okay. But it can be too intense. Maybe on your lower back doesn't like it. Maybe your front groin doesn't like it. So you can back off and just do a more restful version of Setu Bandha, coming off of a bolster, or even maybe going into Supta Baddha Konasana. Up to you. Yeah, these look pretty good, everyone. Oh yeah, everyone's thoracic spine is getting significantly more vertical. It's kind of like doing, those of you who used to go to Clear Spring, remember how Devin had the stage there, and you could do this kind of work off of the stage where your head was really hanging? It's a lot like that, okay? You just have a mini stage. All right, now you're gonna come up onto your toes. That's good, Suzette, that looks good. Suzette's walking her feet up the wall and coming into Sarvangasana. Now you have to remove your brick, and then everyone's gonna come either into Sarvangasana or legs up the wall pose if you don't do Sarvangasana. You can also just say, I'm ready to be in a more restful state and come into something like Supta Baddha Konasana where you still feel that your chest is open. Okay. Or you can try stretching your legs up with your sacrum resting on the brick. When I was doing this sequence yesterday, I really noticed that all of that shoulder work that we did really enabled, it felt very light and upright in Sarvangasana. I was really able to work with my hands a lot more and really get the bottom lift of the pose. So that flex your feet a little bit so you can really get your inner heels to lift. Then see if you can keep that lift on the inner heels and then just point your feet slightly. Cliff, that's pretty good. That's really pretty good foot action. That's good. Gay, you do that too. Flex your feet, spread your toes, and that'll get your inner heels to lift more. Everyone can try this. And then, yes, just right there, Gay. That's really good. Okay. Pratima, good. Melinda, a little bit your left side of your hip is dropping, so it probably means you need to tuck that left shoulder under more and come, yeah, you might need to come into plow pose and try it. That looks pretty good, Vicky. Good, Bob. It looks a little bit from this angle, Bob, like your legs are a little bit too far forward, so shift the weight back into your elbows. Marsha, that looks really nice and open. Karen, the leg actions, what I can see, it looks spot on. That's better, Suzette. Good. All right, then Pratima, can you try bringing one leg up at a time, maybe off of the wall? Yeah, so coming more into full Sarvangasana. I forgot to mention chair Sarvangasana is always an option too. Okay, good, Sugi. That looks like a nice setup. Just extend a little bit more through your heels. All right, and then to stay in shoulder. Now you can also, you can also try a little twist if you want to in Sarvangasana. So you can walk your hands a little bit lower down your back, lift up your back skin, and it's just like Parshvashirshasana. You can just twist a little bit to one side, come back to the center, twist a little bit to the other side. Eventually you put your legs in Parshvasarvangasana. Actually, the full pose is that you put your legs in Padmasana and you twist to the side, but that's the beginning stage of it here. All right, everyone come down into plow pose or come out of Sarvangasana or whatever you're doing instead of Sarvangasana and set up for Shavasana. Take the support you need. I personally, a lot of times, if I'm doing a Sarvangasana and then a Shavasana right after that, I just put my legs up on the Sarvangasana setup. It's a little bit like having the bolster underneath your knees. But you do what you think your body is calling for now. Come into Shavasana and then start the practice. Two things once you come in. You relax your facial features first. I guess that's three things. Then just observe what this Shavasana feels like. Building up that sense of viveka. Because we did a very kind of more focused work on arm and shoulder. And so that has a certain lingering effect on your Shavasana. But having made that inquiry then, just let yourself be in the space of whatever your Shavasana is. And then like we do at the beginning of class, watching the breath, you can do that here as well. And with each successive exhalation, letting yourself sink more back or in. Sink is maybe not the best word, because I don't want you to sink, but I do want you to feel that you're inhabiting the space within. And that space within is that dwelling place, or the space of our own true splendor. And the aim of stilling the fluctuations of the mind. So be in that space of your true self, whatever that means to you, and abide there. Now, from that seat of your true self, from the space of your own true splendor, inhale. Consciously use your inhalations to bring that awareness of your true self with you as you go about your work in the world. Place your hands on your rib cage, bend your knees, roll over to your right side, and use your hands to push yourself all the way back up. Sit up straight and tall, lift your chest well, fold your palms together at your heart, not just folding them there, but you can lift the sternum up one more time so that trapezius releases. And same practice, observe the effect of your work. Observe it on every layer of your being, from the physical to the most deeply spiritual. Then, in gratitude to that benefit you receive from your practice of yoga, in gratitude to the people of the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with, and in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, was practiced by BKS Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India, and down through a line of teachers and students to you, here on the mat, in Austin, Texas, or Paris, France, wherever you happen to be in the world, through the miracle of Zoom. Namaste.